You have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something. Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever.
Stay hungry.
Hungry. Foolish. Stay hungry, stay foolish.
Welcome to eCommerce All-Stars, brought to you by Nadimo.com, where we help e-commerce entrepreneurs accelerate growth through modern technology and innovative thinking.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining today's podcast with your host Brandon Mosko, of course, and today I'm excited to have Rytis Loris here on the line. He's the co-founder and CEO of Omnichannel, and today we're going to talk a lot about omnichannel marketing, and I mean, it's an industry that's very disruptive right now, and I think Rytis is going to bring a lot to the table in regards to a discussion around omnichannel in general, and I'm glad to have him on the show. So thanks for joining us today, Rytis.
Hey, Brandon, really great pleasure to be here.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be a fun conversation. I mean, I'm a big fan of omnichannel. I think of omnichannel from more of a global perspective of business in general, and how, you know, I think all the channels within the business need to be joined and less siloed and all those types of things. But really, when it comes to what you do, you focus in omnichannel marketing, and really allowing people to reach different channels of marketing. And I'd love for you to expand on that for us. But also, I would love to hear a little bit more about your story, what got you started, and all of that sort of stuff.
So omnichannel is definitely the future of entire retail, and no doubts. And so that's actually the reason why we, from a generic email service provider, which we used to be. So yeah, coming back to our story. So 5 years ago, we launched a startup company, email marketing service for e-commerce. With a promise to really make a super easy tool to do such sophisticated things like abundant cart reminders and dynamic pop-ups and welcome series, and show the sales reports on your ESP, which 5 years ago was not the case. Like you had all those generic solutions in the market, but no one was focusing on e-commerce, and e-commerce has very specific needs and very specific capabilities to really automate the marketing activities. So yeah, so that at that time we made a kind of like super easy to use tool, but the market, like retail market or e-commerce market, is really the evolution goes towards omnichannel and towards dropping the E letter and leaving just commerce made through different channels and on different times. So that was the reason we have rebranded, as we used to use a different name. It was called Soundest back in the days, but yeah, we have rebranded, and we really took the path going towards the omnichannel marketing, as we do see the huge opportunity and the huge need here, as the entire retail is going to omnichannel, as you said, like on global perspective. And marketing is a little bit behind that, as marketers, like commerce marketers, we still think about different channels as something separate. We still have a term as like email marketing, or we do have a term as like Facebook marketing. So the approach we have is that we should stop talking about email marketing or like Facebook marketing separately. It should be treated as one kind of marketing on the single flow, and to cover entire customer journey. And that's the most effective way to do marketing.
I would agree with you entirely. I mean, for many years I've been kind of not anti-email, because I think email is an important aspect of marketing, but trying to have people think outside of that box of like you said, email or Facebook and all, Google and all these different types of marketing that are out there, but to open their view of it. And I mean, you get into right down to SMS and a lot of different methods of your email. I mean, not of your email. There we go. Of your marketing channels. And what have been some of the things that you found have been working well for e-commerce specific companies, and then I mean we're seeing a big trend too where e-commerce is moving into the retail sector. I mean, obviously retail's been moving into e-commerce for many years, but in some ways there's a lot of e-commerce plays that are moving the other way. But in regards to the marketing side of things, how have you seen, or what success have you seen in regards to that?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right, and that move definitely is happening, and it's led by like global e-commerce leader Amazon, which has acquired retail chain and opening the physical bookstores. Although still it's not a huge case, but just an experiment. But definitely that's what's happening. And yeah, on marketing from marketing point of view, so definitely the biggest change is really going from campaigns. As you said, you were kind of anti email, and yeah, I know what you mean. Once I kind of used to have quite many of those conversations with people. Ask, so what do you do in your life? And I say, okay, we are like email service provider, and they reply, oh, okay, so you're a spammer. No, I'm not, and we are not. So yeah. I mean, but I completely understand that like bulk campaigns, they're not really loved by some of the marketers, by some of the players. So definitely what's going now, and the major shift which is happening. So it's happening from like campaign point of view to really customer point of view, from campaign centricity to customer centricity, which really is a great trend from like customer perspective, as really marketers start thinking about customer as like the most important figure for their marketing, not the product, not the campaign, not the like email blast, but just how to work with the customer, how to communicate. Campaign is being replaced with the word communication, how to communicate with a customer through entire his customer life cycle. So starting from like anonymous visitor to and ending up to like as a repeated customer. So at Omnichannel, we do kind of define five key stages of customer life cycle, like starting from like anonymous visitor, then it's subscriber, then you have some credentials like some email address, or maybe permission to send push notifications, permission to communicate via Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or Viber, permission to communicate via like text messages, SMSs, etc. So like the definition of subscriber is changing. That back in the days, it was like subscriber was understood as email, having an email contact, and that subscriber. So now it's much broader. And then the subscriber should be converted into shopper, the one which is kind of about to buy and is looking around to the specific categories and specific products. So, and yeah, so we can apply like the different techniques here in order to convert that shopper into customer, the buying one. And of course, the most important thing then afterwards is really to convert customer into repeated customer, to retain customer. And here again, where omnichannel and using different kind of channels is really super effective.
So it's really interesting. A lot of the things you said there. One of the things that jumped out at me was changing the word campaign to communication. And it's really funny because years ago, talking many years ago, before online marketing became a big thing, one of the biggest words in the industry was communication. And now it kind of went away a lot, and then we've gone to campaigns and these types of wording, and then we went to very siloed, different, I call them siloed marketing campaigns, where you're focusing on Facebook or email. But now with SMS and push notifications and all the different apps, and then if you layer on top of all of that IoT, and the fact that you could be driving past the location and get a push notification to your phone that then reads that message through your car and says, hey, there's a Starbucks just up around the corner. Did you want us to order you a hot, an Americano or something like that? I mean, it really dives right into added layer of communication. And then in the example I just gave, in that example I just gave, the one thing I think about often too is that it has to go back to not even just from campaign to communication, but it goes back to what you were talking about too as well, which was from campaign centric to customer centric. So I look at it almost as the three pieces there, going from campaign to communication and communication to the customer. And I think that's what I think I see a lot of with omnichannel marketing is it's really able to dial into that customer and gets it back to more of that human to human level, which I think is absolutely important. And then when I talk about the example I used with IoT, I also think about when you layer in all of the data, for example, and I mean, this is me going off a little bit on my futuristic perspectives, but you layer in all that data and you start to be able to strip out the personas, so to speak, of marketing and focus on the person. And so really that's what gets me excited about all the omni-channel marketing and the industry that you're in. And then for me, it's all about the technology, because that's what we do. Is we're an e-commerce tech company. So we do innovations, and it's my job to know about the tech aspects of e-commerce and commerce, like you said, which I love the fact that you said starting to drop the E on e-commerce, and I think that's very, very true. They're starting to replace it a lot with things like digital instead of E.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
The thing, because I mean, we're also in what I call a digital age, or the digital, you could call it a digital revolution of sorts, because I think technology is really grabbing a hold with a lot of the new capabilities out there right now, and transforming businesses in general. But I really liked what you said about campaigns and communications and customers, and that's just cool. I mean, I went off on my tangent there because that's just what got my brain going. But anyway,
that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, more people, more like opinion leaders and influencers would think like that. More. It's getting like better and better, like in the industry, and for end customers, it's better once really like marketers start thinking in that way. Because and I completely agree with you that like the change in technology, and the technologies plays like super important role here. As a few years ago, the capacity was not big enough and not cheap enough, like storage capacity, data for data analysis, for storing a lot of data, for tracking things, etc. And now technology enables us, any marketer, any e-commerce store or commerce store, to do a lot of great things at relatively low cost, and really like sending the right message on the right time to the right person through the right channel it's what technology enables us to do, and that is really what brings conversation back to the stage, and really helps us to make marketing relevant for the person.
Hey, well, and that's a big part of marketing in general, right? Is getting the right message to the right person at the right time. And then if technology enables us to do that, the nice thing is what you talked about. The very first point was the right message. But there's one layer there, in a sense. If I think about it, you got the right person, you got the right message, the right person at the right time. But the one whole piece that you guys do is with the right
channel.
The right channel,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's kind of it adds that one last piece, which is that right channel, which is really, really what we're talking about here today.
And it's
part
absolutely,
I love. I mean,
and it's absolutely important to really to allow people to choose. I mean, each of us, we're different, so when we do use different channels, we do prefer different channels. And email for quite a long was understood as the primarily channel for brands to communicate with customers, and of course, it remains super effective, and it will remain effective, no doubt. But it's really giving a choice for a customer to choose the channel is really a value as well. And some of the customers, how do you say, what we see, and what's my experience as a marketer is sometimes I have discussions with just people who are outside marketing, or those working on TV still or so. They kind of say that people hate promo, people hate ads, but I would say my experience is not, people don't hate ads and people don't hate promos if they are relevant. So the relevancy is the keyword. I mean, I absolutely allow to communicate for the brand with myself if I like the brand, if I like how they communicate, the message they bring, the value they create. So I'm like really I'm ready to give my contact details, email, phone number, WhatsApp permissions, etc.
I would agree with you on that. One of the things I had a discussion about with someone recently was that people hate to be sold to. And I think in some ways that is very true. Don't sell me something. I mean, I don't want to be sold something, but if you have something that's relevant to, and that goes back to, different like content, content marketing and that aspect of the marketing, the omni experience, if you want to call it that, but where, people are out there in search of content because they're looking for something specific. But you can go push that a little bit further to what you're getting with this, which is, okay, somebody gets a promotion sent to them. I'll be honest, I'm a big fan. I like to find my deals, right? So if I'm going into a store or I'm online and I get wherever I'm shopping, let's even just take it that one level higher. Wherever I'm shopping, if I get a notification in my preferred method, a push notification or an email, or I'm, I get a Facebook message pops up and says, hey, there's a deal on right now for $10 off of, this $40 hat, or a buy one, get one on some socks or something like that, that happens to be what I'm actually looking for. That's awesome. Right. And I mean, why wouldn't I want that if I'm actually looking for some socks and there's a deal comes up on some socks? Well, fantastic. You can't tell me that I don't want to know about that. In fact, I would probably be upset if I went and bought one pair of socks and found out later I could have got a second pair for half off or something like that. Right. So getting those messages to people, and especially when they are what you call the subscriber, right? They've subscribed, they want this information sent to them. They don't want unrelevant information, or they're going to unsubscribe. And the nice thing about what, the whole aspect of what technology can do, and it's getting better at it. I mean, like you said, it's not perfect. There's still a lot of room for improvement. Mass amounts of improvement can be made, in fact. But the truth of the matter is as it gets better, getting that right message to the right person at the right time through the right channel is very, very realistic and can happen. And it'll happen with the assistance of technology, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And we have just released just 1 week ago 2019 Omnichannel Marketing Automation statistics report. And yeah, one of the things that you have just mentioned about relevancy. So we have analyzed different automation workflows. So it's the most traditional welcome, cart abandonment reminder, order confirmation, reactivation workflows, and custom automation workflows. So the results we've got here that the most effective campaigns are those custom automation workflows. What does that show? That really those online retailers or retailers in general who do think about their customers and who adopt their marketing automation activities to their specific customer needs and to their specific business cases, they get the best results. So yeah, custom automation workflows, they end up with the best open rates and click-through rates, and the best click-through rates and the second highest open rate. So that's a really great example.
I've had a chance to review it very high level, and I'd love if there's anything else from that report that you wanted to share with anybody today, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I would say. Again, like we were analyzing like omnichannel, and the really amazing results which came up are that like those who are using like free and more channels, like free and more channels, they have almost twice higher customer retention rate, about 90%, comparing to those who are using just a single channel campaigns. What does it mean? That you know, in our like study, we found that those who are using single channel, they do retain about 35% of their customers, and those who do use free or more channels, they do retain about 66% of their customers. So that's really like huge difference in that. On top of that, like, you know, adding much better conversion rates and much better like engagement rates. That if you calculate just clicks and just conversions, for example, conversions is almost 2.5 times higher conversion rate comparing to just a single channel campaigns. And here we are talking about like campaigns, not automation only. So combining campaigns and automation, so including like bulk when you are sending sometimes bulk, including like automations as well. So we just, you know, just that report revealed that really using more channels on the single flow is very important. So what we see that, you know, a lot of marketers, they do use those different channels, but they are absolutely separated, and they do not complement each other, or they do not complement each other in the best possible way. Yeah, so it's kind of the key findings, and of course there are some statistics, you know, around like, you know, open rates, click rates, the best sending time. And but I would say that the two key findings are really like more channels are better, and another is really relevancy again. So like segmented campaigns perform better, customer workflows performs better. So that I would say kind of the key findings at the high level.
Well, that's excellent. I mean, if you think about it, the big one to me that jumps out, the first one you mentioned, which is retention rate increases, because I mean, I've said it on the show, I don't know how many times, I mean, but I've talked about it, and to me, it's very important. I mean, it costs you so much more to get a new customer than it does to retain your existing ones. And if you're able to double that retention rate, then you've just increased your sales exponentially just from that one piece. And then you talk about increasing your conversion rates and the rate of engagement, and then all of a sudden it just becomes, in so many senses, a no-brainer to me to make sure that you're on more than one channel, and you know, in this case you said 3 or more channels, and so I mean it just solidifies the need for omnichannel marketing and to readdress the way you think about your marketing as a whole.
And so what's very important here, so what's in the market, that's definition of like omnichannel, definition of multi-channel, it's a bit different. So because sometimes I meet people and they say, yeah, so we do omnichannel marketing, so we have a guy who's responsible for email marketing, we have a girl who's responsible for, you know, Facebook marketer, and we are omnichannel. So it's not the case. I mean, doing it like multi-channel is completely different, as they are separated and they're not covering like customer journey. They're not on the single workflow. So maybe just to give an example, maybe for those who are still like listening to us and thinking that they're doing like omnichannel marketing because they're using those different channels. So just an example would be that, you know, let's say abundant cart reminder, one of the most popular automations like globally. Doesn't matter what tool you're using for that. So like initially you're sending email as it's the most cost effective way. Then you are sending, like, if your email is being ignored, then you're sending a push notification if you have a permission. Then you're following by WhatsApp or Viber messages, which already cost per message, but they're relatively cheap. Then you send like text message, and you finally start showing like Google or Facebook retargeting ads because you synchronize their data, and it's all on the single flow. And if the customer comes back to you after like first email campaign, after SMS campaign, you stop the entire promotion flow, because you don't want to you don't want to annoy your customer, because he has already received your message and he has reacted to your message and came back and showed that he is absolutely okay with your brand and he has made a purchase. So, it's just an example of that kind of conversation without having a real like chat or a real talk. Then you have signals coming from your customer, and that's a part of the conversation as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So that example you just used, would that's considered omnichannel or multi-channel?
Yeah, it's omnichannel definitely, because you use
Yes, exactly. That's I wanted to clear that up for everybody, that's a very good example of an omnichannel experience. So now, can you give us an example of a multi-channel, just so that people understand the difference?
Yeah, so multi-channel would be, you see the same like abundant cart, and you have set up an automation workflow, email automation workflow. So you're sending like email reminders, okay, welcome to purchase, welcome back to purchase something. At the same time, you are doing bulk SMS campaign, which has completely different message and not related to your like trigger and to the fact that that the customer was already at your store and have abandoned the cart. And at the same time, you're showing like Google or Facebook retargeting ads, which are not being stopped after the customer comes back and completes a purchase. I guess all of us, from like customer standpoint, had such a situation that I have already came back and completed a purchase, but I still continue seeing a lot of those banners, which are irrelevant at this point for me already.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an example of multi-channels. You're using different channels, but they're not complementing each other. They have not been synchronized. So
exactly, and I think that word is a very good word to explain it to people. The synchronized component, and it's kind of what I was speaking of in terms of like globally bringing everything together in the very beginning of the show. I think the nice thing about omnichannel is all these different marketing channels are working synchronized. And they're like, think about a synchronized swimming team, right? They're all working together to create something as a whole. Whereas multi-channel would be, just various pieces of that all being done separately and all on their own, and really in a much more siloed environment. So I appreciate your explanation on that too for everybody, because there is a lot. I mean, just in all the different aspects of business, when you talk about omni-channel or multi-channel, there's so many different overlaps, and people they have a real struggle there in understanding what the difference is. And I think your example just kind of brings it to completion and allows people to fully understand and grasp what it is we're talking about. So I appreciate that. I was just wondering, I'll appreciate, like I said, just wondering if you had anything else you wanted to share, because I was wanting to get some final words of wisdom out of you, as well as any how people can find you and OmniSend.
So maybe just from the statistics, I'm just looking at that report, which welcome to visit omnisend.com, and you will find their omnichannel marketing white paper. It can be downloaded from our website, and the statistics as well. And so definitely invite people to just a couple of final findings. So like segmented campaigns, on average perform 26% like better order wise. So we generate 26% more orders than non-segmented campaigns. So again, about relevancy, talking about relevancy. And the best time, which is kind of very strange, we have analyzed through the month. So the first for the first half of the month performs better than the second half of the month. So definitely, if you have like some super good offers, for campaigns, it's not for automation here. So definitely, if you have super good offers, so the 12th day on the month is best, combining both like open rates and click rates. So the people kind of are the most engaged on that day. Just, a fun fact for that.
Yeah, no kidding. It's got a lot of useful little facts and information and findings in there. So I would encourage people to download it as well. And I'll put a link up on the show notes as well for everyone that they can find it and go to your site to download that for sure. And so as far as getting a hold of you, people can find you at omnisend.com. That's OMNISEND. And do you have any other preferred methods of people reaching out and getting a hold of you?
Yeah, so definitely LinkedIn. It's the most preferred social network I'm using, and Twitter, and Omnisend, or read us at omnisend.com. This is my email. So if you have any questions, if you're on retail, e-commerce or brick and mortar commerce, looking forward to go online or vice versa, so feel free to contact them. I'm always open to having chats with people from the industry.
Excellent. Well, I thank you for your time. I think this has been extremely valuable to anybody out there in e-commerce or retail as a general. We could just say in commerce, as you said before. So thanks again for being on the show today.
Thanks for hosting. It was a big pleasure.
You have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something. Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever.
Stay hungry.
Hungry. Foolish. Stay hungry. Stay foolish.
Welcome to eCommerce All-Stars, brought to you by Nadimo.com, where we help e-commerce entrepreneurs accelerate growth through modern technology and innovative thinking.